Team. In the second part of this tutorial series about NPC spawners, I'm going to be covering how to make a NPC-only team that the players cannot join, and the gameplay will know about that team and make sure that the elimination feed only shows the NPCs whenever they eliminate a player, and also their points won't matter in the scoreboard. So what we could do for these AI spawners to spawn a different team is we could change their team ID to 3, and without adding this information in the team creation data, they will not have any specific color. But then if you do choose to create them through the team creation component, so let's go ahead and do that. So that will be very similar to our first part. So I'm just navigating to the experience of this map and then scrolling down, and then team setup to teams. I'm going to navigate to it and open it up, and I'm going to add a third team. So this third team, I intend to fully just make it populated by NPC, and so I will choose the color green. Okay, and then let's actually spawn 2 other bots players. So that is in our bot spawner. And let's just create 2 bots, so we will have 3 different players. And let's compile, save, and let's play. Okay, so you'll notice that one of the AI bots actually spawned as the team number 3. So the one that we wanted to just be NPCs. So this part of the video, we are going to define which team is an NPC only team. Okay, so let's just stop this and let's go ahead and open up our C++ project. So open Visual Studio or Writer. An even nicer way to open up this class is you can just have your B team set up 2 teams open and click on the Lyra team creation component, because that's what's we're going to modify or extend, and it will open your header file, and Alt-O will open the C++ file. In Writer, I think it's the same shortcut for Visual Studio. Okay, so what we're going to do is you can go to the GitHub project that I will link in the description, and then copy over the content of the Lyra team creation component.h. And we're going to paste it right under the teams to create. Okay, so yeah, this will give the functionality to our team creation to define which teams we want to only have NPCs in it. So the first part is just a Boolean. So basically, if you don't want NPCs in your game, you can just keep that one as false. And then if this one is true, then the NPC team IDs would show up. At first, I had just used okay, I want 2 teams, and then I was relying on the teams to have a certain amount of indices. But as we saw, the teams to create start at 1, 2, 3. So the index at 0 is not a thing. So for readability and more clarity, I just decided to make sure that it's very specific, and you can define exactly which teams you want it to be NPCs. So I'm gonna go back. So this added condition, it will just pretty much, it will show in the same line also, which is very nice UI. So this is all we need in our header file, and I will go and get the information for the C++ file. So with this one, in our server assign player to teams, so I'm gonna Control F for search, server assign teams. So there it is, and we're going to paste, so right before server choose team for player. So, funny formatting. So essentially, if you get here and it's basically assigning players to certain teams, We want to skip it if our team is already there, which pretty much means they already have a team, so they don't need to be chosen. And our NPCs, they already do have a team from part 1. I will go to the next part, which is on player initialized. So I'm just going to search on player initialized. So this one is pretty much when someone logs in a bit later, and it also chooses team for player. Okay, and then this one, we are going to paste also that code. So right before server choose team for player. So same deal here. If you already have a team, then skip choosing a team. And our last spot is get least populated team ID. So this is essentially, it tries to put all the players in teams so that it's fair. So this one, we have a bit more to paste. I'm just going to paste the entirety of that code, and I'm going to paste it on all the way, so from here all the way to the end of the for loop. So yeah, essentially what this does is that it will only choose a team that's not one that's supposed to be populated by NPCs. So anytime that team is contained in this NPC team IDs, it skips. So in the end, we're just trying to make sure that our NPCs are not considered in the get least populated team ID. The one thing I couldn't exactly figure out is when those NPCs are in your player enemy team, or, well, the teams that are not just for NPCs. So I just added a little comment over here. And then same deal for this one. So it goes through all the player array. So even the NPCs have player states. So just to make sure that those are skipped for consideration. And yeah, so that's pretty much all that this does. So now we're just gonna, this whole part will just make sure that we're not considering the NPCs when choosing teams for the players. And the bot players also. And then we're going to just close our editor and just run. So I just make sure. All right. So I'm just going to debug. Okay. I'm just going to open Shooter Gym. So under the project settings, I'm just going to change my map and modes. And I'm going to set up my editor map to be Shooter Gym. Okay, great. So now we have these two that are spawning as team 3, and we have the team defined. The next thing we want to do is we want to define the team 3 as an NPC only team. Go ahead and open up your experience. So under world settings, be shooter elimination. And let's navigate to our setup 2 teams. Okay. And you'll notice this new property here. So I'm just going to turn that on because I do want an NPC team. And I'm going to add an element, and I'm going to just set that the team number 3 is an NPC only team. Okay, so when I play, nobody should be on the green team except for the NPCs. So let's see if that's true. So yeah, I have a red guy, I have a blue or gal, it kind of, that looks like Quinn. Yeah, so now they have their own team. The next thing we want to fix is that our elimination feed, it shows as though nobody killed this person. There's also a lot of warnings. So let's actually address that warning. So it complains that the function set team colors as the switch statement, it failed to find the index. So let's just stop this. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up our elimination feed entry widget. So yeah, our game will also run better without a bunch of warnings flooding our screen. And it was talking about a set team colors. So let's search for that. So under inner graph, set team colors. So yeah, what's happening is that the team color material for the elimination feed, which is what we were looking at the bottom left, it's only made for 2 teams. So the way I fixed it, it's a temporary fix. I'm just going to do Shift F11 to hide my bar. Yeah, so what I did to clear that warning is essentially I just made sure to get the modulus, so the modulo of 2, and then 2. So just connect this here. Another neat trick is that if you just have a node, a multiply, subtract node, or anything, you can right click and you can set it its type. I'm just going to choose an integer. Okay, so in our case, 2 minus modulo. I always thought it was modulus, but I might be wrong. So yeah, this just ensures that all the teams will either have option 1 or 2. And yeah, so it's a little bit of a hack. So definitely if you want to handle more teams and having team elimination feed be a certain color, you'll need to pretty much update the font or the material. So I'm just going to connect this to all of them because it does the same thing. But yeah, it's definitely more of a band-aid in our case. Okay, there you go. I'm just going to delete these ones, and it should get rid of the flooding warning. So yeah, let's see if they kill me. I don't get that warning anymore. So the next thing we want to do is we actually want to show something for the NPC who killed us. Okay, so the name of the enemies or the person who shot someone is actually here. So if we want to know how the attacker name is set up, what I did is at first I was looking through pretty much the user widget, and it didn't give me too much information. And then I try to search the usages of this widget as well. So what you can do is you can browse to the asset and then right-click Reference Viewer. This is the one where we're looking at, and we can see that the elimination feed is the one that probably sets what that attacker name is. So Control E to open it. Doesn't always work. Oh, it's because it was in the other window. So yeah, our elimination feed, it is just a list widget. So yeah, this part got me a little confused because it's not exactly clear how it's set up. But this is essentially just a list view, and that one is set. There's an event whenever an object is set in the child widget, so the one that we're adding. So in this case, we're waiting for the kill feed, and when we receive the message, we have all the payload with all the information of who killed who, and then it adds the item, which then ends up here. So whenever that item is added, it has that object, and then we cast to that structure elimination feed entry. So that one, whenever you break it, it's got all this information. So yeah, and then it sets who's the attacker name and who's the attackee name. But to actually find out how that information was set, I went back to the elimination feed and then I was searching for this message. So it seems in Lyra, a lot of things are driven by the gameplay messages, and they a lot of time have a lot of information on them, which is really useful. So I was searching for the usages of kill feed. So you can go down, search for references. Okay, and then that led me to the elimination feed relay. So this seems to be the blueprint that's in charge of pretty much all the notifications. Okay, so that led me to the elimination feed relay. And that one just waits for the Lyra elimination message, which I later found that it's called in the health component, and we will get back to that. But for now, all we care about is that this has all the information that we need about who got killed and who killed who. And then from the instigator, so the killer, we get its player state and we get the player name. And this is where the player name plays in. So I double clicked on get player name, and it ends up that it just gets the player name custom. Let's just search for the usages of or wherever it is actually being set. So it's set in set player name internal. So then I search for this one as well, and then finally found that there's another one that's for set player name. And then searching for that one, I finally found that the Lyra bot creation component Spawn 1 bot sets the player name this way. So this is exactly what we were going to do. So it was quite the goose chase. I should have just looked at how the bot creation component does it, but it's good to know how all the systems are working together and what gets set where, and just know how to find that information. If you don't have anything that's similar that you're trying to do that already exists. So we are going to navigate to our NPC spawner. Or again, what you could do is you could just go to your shooter gem, click on an AI spawner, edit the blueprint, and then you can just click on the NPC spawner. Okay, and whenever we are creating or spawning our AI from the class, we are going to give it a name. Right below spawn default controller. So I'm just going to, okay, there you go. So right below there, I'm going to make sure that we have a player state. And after that, we're going to set the player name to just NPC pawn. Or you could have some sort of setup like the Lyra bot creation component where you get a random assortment of names. But NPC pawn kind of makes sense because once they die, they die. Okay, so I'm just going to close this and rerun. Okay, so now when we play, when they kill us, we should be able to see the NPC. Yeah, so now at the bottom left, we see that the NPC pawn killed us. Okay, for the next part of the video, I wanted to support basically making sure that the NPC kills and assists don't actually count in the scoring of the game. So here you can see that the teams have definitely been killed more by the NPCs than the players. So yeah, I wanted to find out exactly where those rules are set. The elimination feed relay was actually the one that kind of gave me a hint of who's listening to the elimination message. So I just clicked here and then I searched for all the references, and it led me to, oh wow, a lot of things listen to the elimination feed or the elimination message, which is called by code, by the way. Yeah, so I noticed that the scoring base was here, and then the scoring that I cared about is the team deathmatch scoring. So I just Control E to open. Okay, so there wasn't that much information in the deathmatch one. So I decided to open the basic one. Okay, and this is where I found pretty much where everything that matters for scoring is. So in it's a game state component, and it's added. I'm just going to search that one. Oh. So it's added in the experience. So that's how you get your scoring, kind of the same way as everything else really. It's very modular. So your experience has that team deathmatch scoring. So yeah, if you want to search it or open it from the experience, it's much easier than trying to look through references. So I'm just going to navigate to it, open it, and then again, open the parent. And essentially what's happening is that on begin play, it listens for if anyone dies, and then it adds tags stacks to eliminations, deaths, and it also takes care of assists. So I figured I could have a function or some way to know that whoever died, I guess, doesn't really matter for scoring, but it's good to still know that someone died. So I didn't fully want to just stop this message from happening. So I found out that, okay, there's this subsystem. Most of the function it had was just for comparing teams. So it seemed like the right place to put the function for checking if your NPC, if that team is just full of NPCs. Okay, so I was curious about this and I double clicked on compare teams. And that function just found that team from object and compared them. So there wasn't really much information about what team this is. So I was also curious about how the teams get their colors, or how the player knows what color to be when they respawn. So I was searching for. I stumbled on get team display asset and discovered that after you create your team, there's basically this team tracking information that's created so that you still have information about the teams that were created that's useful to check some things like what's your data asset that represents your team. So let's navigate to that. And it has this events for whenever your asset changed. Yeah, so it has the display asset and it has some information. So yeah, this next part, I was very much inspired by how the display asset is saved and set up. I saw that it gets set up, the team info gets set up whenever you register this team. And whenever you register this team with the subsystem, and the list goes on and on. Okay, so it all pointed up to the server create team. So whenever this team is created, it essentially spawns some private or public information about that team that you will use in the future. And it will make it easier to search for that information by team ID. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring over some code. After set team ID, we're going to call this new function that we're going to create. We want this new information, just a Boolean about, are we on an NPC only team or are we not? So I created this function called set is NPC only team. And you can set it by pretty much knowing, is this team ID part of the team, the NPC team IDs? If so, then yes, you're an NPC only team. So yeah, let's go ahead and create that function. So you can navigate, so F12 to go to the Lyra team public info. Okay, I'll just drag that over here. Okay, and then go ahead and paste this other part right under the get team display asset. So let's, you can just paste this function here. So you can set it, you can get it. I'm going to navigate to the C++ file, and let's paste the C++ part of it. So this one you can just paste under the set display asset. So yeah, this is just a setter. So it just sets this variable to true or false. And now this information is public, accessible by this Lyra team public info. But now we need to be able to get it from the team subsystem, as you saw over here, so that we can call, hey, are you on an NPC team? Okay, so I'm just going to double click on the Lyra team subsystem. Let's paste this on top of the find team from actor. So this will be our functions that we can call for knowing if our actor is on an NPC team or if this team ID is an NPC team. Okay, and then let's find our team tracking info. So this is where we pretty much started all this investigation. So yeah, we're going to paste the code right below the display asset. Okay, so is on NPC only team. Okay, and then F12 on find player state from actor. So after this function, let's paste our code. So is part of an NPC team. So to know this, it just checks if this team is an NPC. So sweet. So we have our variable. The only thing left to do now is just to set that variable. So in our function set team info, we're going to paste the last piece that we need. So after we set our display asset, we're going to set this information from the public info. Okay, and now this information should be public. Are we an NPC team or are we not? Okay, so I'm going to close everything and I'm going to run. So yeah, from my understanding, it seems that this team tracking info and the team public info purposes are just to store some data about the teams that you will then use in gameplay. So now let's add that consideration to our scoring. So go ahead and open up your experience. And then in our team deathmatch scoring, browse to the asset. Let's open that up. And then the scoring base. Yeah, so what we can do here is that after we compare the teams, they are sworn enemies. We need to know that are they an NPC team or not. So I'm just going to drag all of that over there. And I will call our new nice function. So are we a team NPC? So if team A is an NPC, or if team B is an NPC, we don't want to consider them for any scoring. So I could have a nor. So nor. So if neither of them are an NPC, then we go on and do the scoring. So I'm just going to connect these ones. Okay. And would help if I connect this pin. I can clean this up later, says everyone. All right. And then the same thing for the assist scoring. So the assist doesn't actually care about the target, but in our case, we do. Okay, so we don't want to count assists over like you assisted killing an NPC. So these ones, instead of getting the team, we can call our other trusty new function. So is part of an NPC team. So if our instigator or our target, so nor. So if neither is part of an NPC, then we care about the assist. So I've been murdered by an NPC. Yeah, so their scorings don't count. But you can definitely notice that the assists don't really match up. So Elisa has 2 assists, but her team hasn't made any kill. So that is because anyone that damaged an actor before it died gets an assist. So we're going to change that so that if an NPC is the one that's the killer, then no one gets the assist. So yeah, you can definitely play with those scoring and all that. I'm just going to stop. So yeah, the way I found that information was essentially I searched everywhere that had the Lyra elimination message. And these tags seem like they run it all. Yeah, and then I stumble on the assist processor. So this one was listening to whenever someone is eliminated, and it finds the whole damage history, and it gives an assist to everyone. So that's a lot of assists. Yeah, so the code that I added to essentially ignore all the assists for if an NPC killed someone is, I'm just going to paste it. So right before the payload, and I'm going to make sure to include the team's Lyra subsystem. So right here, just to clear that missing include error. So essentially, if you are part of an NPC team, just return. Don't even count any of the assists. So this is kind of like how you can use this these functions in your code. And the last point I wanted to make is that I didn't even want to see the elimination feed when an NPC gets killed. So that's also, again, a personal choice or a game choice. But where the kill happens is in the Lyra health component. Okay, so when you handle when you're out of health. So this is the one that sends the death gameplay event. So then it handles all the death. So that's fine because we still want them to die. But what we don't care about is this message here. So the elimination message, which we should be familiar by now. So the Lyra elimination message, I'm just going to go back. And before this happens, I will just make sure that we actually want to send that message. So I'm just going to add this code. So it's already scoped, which is nice. So I'm just going to paste. So all I did was essentially is essentially I just set up some logic that okay, you want to skip the elimination message if you're part of an NPC team. And I left it open for if there's any other reasons why you wouldn't want to send this message. Yeah, so then you skip it if you don't want that. I will just paste that in here so we still have that very nice message. And then the last thing we want to do is we want to add or include. So that again, we fix our include problems. Yeah, so I will just paste that here. And yeah, no more error, which is nice. And this is all the code that we need. So I'm just going to, again, for the last time, close this. Okay, so let's go ahead and play. Okay, so you'll see that whenever they die, there's no notification. They're suddenly very hard to kill. I'm just going to enable the God mode. So yeah, when I kill them, there's no notification, and I'm stuck behind this. Okay. There's still a notification for when they kill someone, because we still do care when other people died. And yeah, so now the only points that matter are if any player kills or has an assist on another player that was killed by a player. Now we have a way of telling apart teams that are supposed to be just for NPCs, and we can handle them differently in gameplay logic and blueprints and code. The next part, I'll be covering how to handle NPCs that are just characters and they don't have any player states. So that's the route I ended up taking. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one, and thanks for watching.